What do advisors need to know about the latest jobs report and tariff developments? Hi, I'm Khang. Today we're discussing how the jobs report and updates in tariff rates could impact the economy and the markets. We had a really busy week of important data releases. When it comes to macro, this is really when you had almost all the data you could have expected. You had GDP numbers out, you had PCE numbers out, and then you also had jobs report. Undoubtedly, the most important learning came from the jobs report. It turned out that it was, in a way, affirming the qualitative view that we had about the continual weakness in the labor market, but the real information was in the magnitude of that adjustment. So that was a massive revision down from a numbers point of view. So that qualitative view of a continuation of a bifurcated US labor market kind of standing on really just one leg, which is the healthcare sector that was really about the only sector that was creating jobs. And the quantitative piece, which I think is more interesting and important for anybody who is really trying to understand how tariffs and the policy uncertainty that we've experienced in the first half of this year have been working its way through the US economy. The qualitative nature of the US labor market has been such that this year, the breadth of job creation has been narrowing. Most importantly, it's been, for the most part, just riding on the strength of healthcare sector's job creation. On the quantitative side, the reason it's really interesting is that so far this year, we have been saying that because tariffs are high and then it has a way of constraining aggregate supply, that tends to, in a way, make the economic growth slower, as well as put up an upward pressure in prices. From the very beginning of the tariff policy discussion earlier this year, we have been saying that if tariff is imposed at a formidable level that we think that we're settling towards, we would actually see stagflationary impulses at work within the economy. We seem to be settling somewhere in the neighborhood of 15%, maybe a little higher, of effective tariff rate from the US imported goods standpoint. And I stress that's at this point, somewhat of a certainty because that's a level that many of us would not have expected. So directionally, we've certainly seen that. The magnitude of economic impact of tariffs, we hadn't quite seen. Whereas the July jobs report, when it's basically putting it all out there, that jobs creation has been very low relative to what we think is the trend growth rate of US labor market, that really puts this whole thing in a new light. It suggests that probably the contractionary impact of tariff as well as uncertainty is certainly, the potency is certainly alive and well. And that is a data point that's giving us all a long pause to really reflect on the health of the US labor market. This is one of those rare times where the dual mandate, price stability that the Fed has, and full employment, they actually come into somewhat of a conflict and tension. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be black and white. It's going to be a very much risk-considered decision, and the Fed will have to figure out what would be the best course of action given all risks considered. And the fact the labor market is slowing considerably compared to what everybody had thought before is certainly making that decision more tricky. And that's going to have some interesting implications in terms of the monetary policy and rate setting. They may want to support with a rate cut, but with an inflation expectation that is certainly not anchored and that is creeping up, the Fed would rather not cut. So that is where the dual mandate is coming into tension with one another. That's a situation that's worth monitoring because that in the end has a lot of implications for discount factors and risk assets. All of them rely on the stability of inflation, which we'd rather see continuing into the future. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more insights from Vanguard thought leaders.